Intro music.
Overview narration. Overview narration.
Oh, doctor!
My name is James.
And my name is Joey, and this is the Brothers Padre. James, it is a bright, beautiful Tuesday afternoon. We have experienced what the sports world's calling the hottest thing in baseball that just so happens to involve our San Diego Padres, James.
Yes, this weekend, in case you were living under a rock and you didn't turn on the TV or the internet.
And somehow stumbled on a Padres podcast.
Yeah, and exactly. First of all, welcome. Thank you for being here. My name is James.
My name is Joey.
Yeah. So here's the deal. The Padres went into Dodger Stadium, and as the famous saying is, we came, we saw, and we kicked their butts.
We're going to go to greater detail in the recap episode about it.
Stay tuned for Thursday.
We were pretty down last recap episode.
Yeah, last recap episode was probably... Yeah, it was a dark time. Dark time.
But it's just so funny. Baseball, of course, and things change quickly.
It is a fickle lover.
And the Padres and Dodgers series proved to be the greatest sports entertainment over the weekend.
So far, the greatest sports entertainment of the year, of all sports.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we're a little biased, but I'm going to say for sure.
I can't think of anything else. I mean, no, nothing magical happened with the basketball, and nothing's happened
with the basketball.
Yeah, that game. And because if something did magical happen, even me who doesn't watch the sport would have heard about it. You know,
I think it was. We've talked a lot about expectations, and on Sunday night, the Padres were down 6 runs in the 7th inning, and James and I are texting dark things. Not really. It's a little inside baseball. When the game's going bad, we don't text each other. We just kind of like,
yeah.
I just don't, or it's like, I don't want to be shut out. I would like a hit, please. Not a lot. And then they start chipping away. I called you in the 9th inning, and I said to you, you said to me, someone said, this is like the 2020 Padres again.
It was like the 2020 Padres. Consistent hitting. Up and 1 through 9 in the batting lineup. Hit after hit. Get on base. Get the next guy on. For 3 straight innings, we got 2 runs every inning. We chipped away their inning. The first time the Dodgers have ever lost, they were leading the game by 6 runs. They haven't lost a game in that circumstance since 2011.
Awesome.
10 years. Also, it's like out of the millions of games that have been played, you have a 0.07 chance of winning a game losing by 6 runs by the 7th inning. It was an amazing comeback, worthy of a movie.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody call Aaron Sorkin. Write this now. It was an amazing comeback.
Can you imagine, like, Aaron Sorkin, like... You'll see like Jace Tingler walking, like the walk and talks, just like walking up and down the dugout.
Oh yeah.
It's just Aaron Sorkin shot the gut. So follow the Melanson from the outfield talking to himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Saying words that no one actually uses.
Yeah, I ate a vocabulary. Spit out dictionary. Oh yeah, exactly. And you know what? And it was so magical, and it was a perfect cap to a great series, because first, again, we'll get into more detail. We won the first 2. Fernando Tatis, 2 home runs each game. Well, no. The first one we didn't. It was Weathers.
Yes.
Then it was Kershaw. And then it was Bauer, and we lost to Bauer.
Yeah.
And then it was the Daywalker, May. And it was so brilliant. We won the first 2. We lost the third one, and then it's like, oh, we're getting beaten up, and the Dodgers were feeling themselves like, oh, we're gonna beat up on these kids. They don't understand it. We're like, no, man. We came to your house.
Yeah.
we know what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Petco
beat
Park
you.
North.
Yeah, we're gonna own you, and it was brilliant. And again, we'll get more into for the recaps, but the game against Bauer sparked a controversy, which sparks this episode. Joe, does it not?
Yes. We've haven't given the real details yet. What won us the series, and that's one Fernando Tatis Jr. James. He homers twice against Kershaw.
Might not be a real human being. He might be a robot.
Homered twice against Bauer, then homered again against Dustin May. 5 home runs, 3 games.
4 games, but 3 games.
I mean,
First player in history to hit back-to-back home runs against back-to-back former Cy Young pitchers. Also, against Kershaw was the anniversary of his father, Fernando Tatis Sr., hitting 2 grand slams in the same inning against Chan Ho Park. Everything, the stars were aligned. It was a brilliant comeback. This kid is next level great.
and he's injured.
Yes.
He had to retrain how to swing the bat.
Yeah.
He had to retrain his body.
You hear that, Dodgers? He's injured. What's Bellinger's excuse? You're soft.
Yeah, and I thought admittedly so, the injury he had was so bad, and Tatis still a young player, but the ability he has, the freak of nature ability to turn around on the batter's box, incredible. It's just absolutely incredible that if you told me as an adult man, like, hey, retrain anything in life, like, no, it's going to take me 6 months easy. I can't do this. But it's like this kid is like, oh, I'm going to perform at my sport at the highest level. After being injured, retrain myself. Oh, then a week and a half later, I'll hit the 2 best pitchers in baseball. Like, I'll hit the 2 best players in baseball and go off on them.
Over this 4-game stretch, he was at 2 home runs, which was fair. And then he's now at 7 home runs, which is tied for the league. His batting average went up. I think it was 62 points, something like that. It was insanity. Remember, he's missed 10 games too because of this injury.
And he's tied with the league lead in home runs, even though he's missed 10
I know,
games.
exactly. It's unreal. And again, what the focus of this episode, because we could talk about this.
Oh, I mean, our loyal listeners have said that we love Tatis Jr., and that's true. We can talk about him till we're blue in the face.
We could do a whole hour of just gushing about this kid. And that's not to throw away the other great things about this series. Jake Cronenworth made one of the best double plays ever.
Oh, yeah.
How awesome was it in Game 2? The Dodgers looks like they were going to come back. Mookie Betts gets robbed by Machado. Almost like Machado could have stood up like, how do you like it, Betts?
Yeah.
Oh, revenge, Mike Droff. Oh, it was awesome. The whole series, it was just... Tatis' performance was the 50-pound cherry on the sundae.
Oh, it was incredible.
It was already a fantastic ice cream sundae, and then it's like, oh, Tatis.
Awesome. But there was a brouhaha, James.
Controversy at the Dodgers field.
Tatis Jr. on a second home run against Bauer. It was caught on video. He looked like he appeared to peek down towards the catcher. Now, the John Boyd, of course, is a great breakdown of this.
Check it out. It slows it down.
I'll link it in the description. Like,
yeah.
What happens is Tatis Jr. is 3-2 in the count against Bauer. Bauer is throwing 5 pitches outside. All of them are outside. 3-2, and Tatis looks down for a half a second. And that's kind of all we see. And now what people have inferred is that Tatis stole the sign, knew where the catcher was set up, and that may or may not be cheating or against the unwritten rules. Because what happened next is Tatis Jr. barrels a pitch 6 inches outside the zone into center field for a home run.
Yes, and here and so the controversy is you're not supposed to look. It's cheating, and it's an unwritten rule. You're not supposed to look because it is the reason why they have unwritten rules is because you can't police against it. It's totally legal, and it's just frowned upon. And John Boy breaks it down. He didn't see the sign. The very least, he saw him move which direction he was going. Possibly.
Once again, he pitched 5 pitches outside.
Oh, yeah, he was pitching outside all day. Here's my counter to that. Whether he saw him move or not, that's not on Tatis Jr.
No.
This game is about reviews now. Every hitter and pitcher goes and watches tape. If this series taught me anything about the Dodgers is that their catching staff, not the best.
No.
We stole 10 stolen bases against them. They can't prevent the running game. And Will Smith, although he's a good hitter, is not the best catcher.
Young.
Now, inside Brothers Padre baseball, Joseph over there was a catcher once when he played as a kid. And I remember trying to help him be a catcher. And the first thing they tell you about any catcher thing is hide your signs.
Oh, yeah. It's very important to put the fingers deep in between your thighs.
Yes. And if it was against the rules, they could just, hand up in the air, hold up a 1. We're going to throw a fastball, If anything, and again, great. You can see this in great catchers. Look at basically any other catcher in the league or any like Pudge Rodriguez, perfect example. He'll throw the sign down, and once the pitcher starts getting his wind up, then he'll move to where the target is because it's a mind game between right at that point. It's a mind game between the pitcher, the hitter, and the catcher.
Yes,
because they all know what happens. It is nothing. It's a part of baseball. And to get all no, it's not on Tatis. It's on your stupid young catcher that doesn't know how to do his job correctly yet. And they probably saw on the tape, like, oh, look, he's tipping where he's moving to.
Right. And as videos would break down, when Tatis looks down, Will Smith is done with the signs. So he didn't really. And plus, there's another thing. They really do switch out signs even though there's no one on base. So if he were to catch the signs, he'd then have to know which set of signs they're using. And even then, it's like, what? Like, it doesn't mean you're going to guess it correctly. Yeah. And so, like, you're probably right. He probably just saw a location, maybe, because you just see him kind of leaning to the right. But you brought up Pudge Rodriguez. I was thinking of 2 catchers when I saw it. Yasmani Grandal, former Padre and former Dodger. He trained himself to look at the batter and look at the pitcher. So if you see him, he'll be throwing down signs and he'll switch his eyes between the batter and the pitcher. He'll do it over and over and over again because he's like, you better not peek because he's a big league catcher. He knows, hey, they can just see me look down and try to see what I'm doing, right? And the fact of the matter is that this is before I forget, The Athletic had interviewed 3 catchers after the fact about what they thought about the whole situation. And they said basically it's on the catcher. This is not on the hitter. It's not on the pitcher. The catcher has to be aware, hey, is this guy snooping? Because if he is, then I'll be mad about it, right? Like,
he could have called time.
Right.
And also, there is no rule saying they couldn't have talked about the sequence before the inning started.
Right.
I'm going to throw these 5 pitches to Tatis. It's just, again, this isn't on, and the thing is, every time you play the Dodgers, you're not just playing the Dodgers, you're playing LA. You're playing their media.
The LA sports media.
And you playing their whiny media. And there's several of their sports media were like, Tatis cheated. No, we outplayed you.
Right.
It was 4 games. We won 3 of them. We plain and simply outplayed your Dodgers. That's what happened.
Yep.
you outplayed us the week before, we outplayed you this week.
If what's always so funny, there are plenty of good LA writers, but they never get as much traction as the whiny ones, I feel like. And there are good LA writers that be like, this is just sportsmanship. This is just they brought up their own self. If we can lean into pitches, they can. Like,
oh yeah, the Dodgers were going to get hit. That one guy kept sticking his knee out. It's like, obviously, perfect example.
Yeah.
They clearly looked at tape at Joe Musgrove.
I'm like, hey, the slider's going to come inside.
Stick your knee out. It happened 3 times with 2 different players. So if they can do that to find a week, and obviously now the Padres' job is to get with Musgrove in the tape room, look at what we're doing wrong, and adjust.
Right.
Now the Dodgers have to get in the tape room with Will Smith and adjust.
Right.
This is what baseball's all about.
Right.
It's a game of inches, videotape, and it's so beyond belief. And the fact that it's even up for debate is because it's all about the unwritten rules, and unwritten rules are, for the most part, stupid.
James, are you saying? I feel like when you say that, you don't understand the purity of the sport. Do you understand the purity of the sport, James? Do you understand these rules were written back when baseball was pure, James?
Pure as a wind-written snow, when all of the players were white like Jesus.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Not so pure. If you really want to think about it.
This is my big problem with unwritten rules. It assumes that the olden times when baseball were, well, like I said, pure. They weren't. People spiked each other. That was a strategy. It's like
The spitball was a thing.
It's just not. People used to take greenies. Like those were like literally methamphetamines that people took all the time. It wasn't like.
Oh yeah, Babe Ruth was hopped out of his mind.
This is not. This wasn't a purer time in baseball. So whenever I hear unwritten rules, it always assumes there was a greater sportsmanship back in the olden days. I just have a hard time believing that.
So let's run down some of these unwritten rules.
I'm so excited for this.
All right, first one: do not bunt to break up a no-hitter.
I will say this about that. It all depends on the score. If it's 11-0, your bunt's not going to help. If it's 1-0 in a playoff game, bunt to your heart's content.
I agree. It all depends on the score and the circumstances. It would have sucked if the Rangers would have hit a bunt to break up Musgrove's no-hitter.
But at the same time, it was a fairly close game for a ball club that could come back with a grand slam. Like,
correct. But again, it's not how, and I've seen bunts and no-hitters in perfect games where it's defended correctly.
right.
So no, if you think that can win you a game, you are playing a professional level sport. It sucks when you're the other team, because I've seen it happen to the Padres, have done it and have had it done to them.
Do you think that sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought. Sorry.
So no, I think do whatever you need to do to win a game.
Ty Cobb is definitely bunted to break up a no-hitter.
Ty Cobb's bunted to break up a no-hitter. Ty Cobb slid purposely into second baseman's shins with his extra sharpened cleats. He was known to sharpen his cleats. Yeah.
Bow's baseball is purer than.
Yeah. Do not swing at an 0-3 count.
3-0 count.
3-0 count. Sorry, 3-0 count. A bit dyslexic. 3-0 count.
Yeah, I obviously, because this is a controversy last year. Yeah, swing any count.
So you're going to punish the hitter because your pitcher can't find the strike zone? To quote Rich Eisen, take the cookie.
Yeah.
You're going to hit the cookie. You just know. If you're throwing outside and you don't want to throw right down the middle, walk him. You don't punish the hitter because your pitcher can't find the strike zone. All right, next one is, which is pretty much, I just copy and pasted popular unwritten rules on Wikipedia, and it says, do not spend time admiring a home run.
You know what, James? I have to keep correcting you on this, because there's this guy named Babe Ruth. He never admired. He never was cocky. He never pointed. No.
Never called his shot. And then after he did it, stared at it for a minute. Oh, no, again.
When were these written? When was it like... I want to know when I need someone to tell me when was the pure time in baseball? When was pure professionalism and like button down aesthetics like the thing in baseball? It never was. Like you can't tell me there's a time when this was all of these were a reality.
I would like to point this out. This is back, the pure time of baseball is when, in case you're unfamiliar with history, is when water fountains still had color restrictions.
Yeah.
These are so beyond the stupid ideas of old time baseball rules. Anyways, again, that is far beyond. Everyone admires a home run.
Yeah, of course. And it's fun.
And Tatis Jr. this weekend
oh my goodness.
Trolled Bauer to
Chef. If you can't see because we don't have a video, James just did the chef's kiss.
It was
Molto bene.
It was so gorgeous. It was just he covered one eye because that's what Bauer did. Yeah. He did the McGraw, whatever strut, the McGruger strut, whatever his name is, the MMA fighter. I don't watch the sport. and then like the next one is don't steal bases when your team is ahead by a significant amount. And I kind of agree with that one. Just because if you're up by 12 runs and you steal third, it's like, come on, man. What are you gonna? You just that's kicking us when you're down.
Yeah,
just no.
I think it's all relevant to like significant amount is the key term.
Exactly
right. If you're up by 5 runs, steal. 8 runs, you're like maybe you don't have to steal.
Go ahead. If you're up by 5 runs, it's the 7th inning, and you're against say the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Steal.
Yeah.
Because this team is capable of scoring 6 runs in an inning.
Yeah.
If you're up 15 runs, by that time you should have all your replacement staff out there anyways, give your stars a day off. Maybe don't steal.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with that one just because it is a bit like, all right, we're clearly a better team and we're dominating you. Let's take a step back.
Caveat, steal if you think you're going to be picked off because you want to speed up the game because it's a 15-0 game. 15. You're like if you're running into outs, that's fine. Run into outs. Just make them make plays. Just come on.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good point. It's like
we all have dinner
before they steal. I'm gonna steal. A chug. I'm almost there. And like, okay, tag him out. Yeah, that makes sense.
Or I mean, we saw this. It has yet to be confirmed, but Ha-Sung Kim more or less got caught in the rundown, got caught stealing Joe Musgrove's no-hitter to speed up the inning.
Well, yeah, we get to get Musgrove out there quicker.
Yeah.
I don't think that's up for debate. I mean, Wayne Kirby, when you're on our podcast, we're going to ask him.
Right.
Absolutely. And then there's, let's see. Do not walk in front of a catcher or an umpire when walking in the batter's box. That's stupid.
That's such a funny one.
Do not stand. That's also stupid.
Well, the whole idea is like you're disrupting the flow of between. That's so silly. But I kind of understand it. But like if you are upset by that, you're just, I don't know. That's a little silly.
All right. Do not stand in the dirt when the pitcher's warming up. That's just a safety issue. You know,
that's not written. That's like
that's just like, yeah, don't stand in the batter's box when the pitcher is warming up. Sometimes they could just yank one and hit you in the arm. No, that's a stupid rule. Do not assist a member of the opposing team. So you're not supposed. If a guy falls down and hurts himself, you're not supposed to help him.
I think it probably means, hey, don't like intentionally drop the ball because you're friends with the guy.
Oh,
right?
okay.
I think that's probably what that means, yeah. So, play the sport. Play like you're playing somebody.
Oh, okay, all right.
I think so.
All right, and do not speak to a pitcher when he's in the process of throwing a no-hitter. That makes sense.
I think it's entirely on the pitcher, though.
Yeah.
Because Joe Musgrove said no one talked to him in the last 3 innings.
And he knew he was throwing a no-hitter.
Right.
He was well aware of it.
He knew what was happening.
He knew what was going on. And the other one that isn't on here that I've heard of that people do get upset about, and there's only two that I kind of agree with, and that's the don't steal when you're up by a significant amount, and the other one is if you're a hitter or any kind of defender, do not step on the mound if you don't purposely step on the mound in between innings. And the only reason that is because those pitchers do make sure the mound is a certain curvature, and they know all the divots and everything.
Right.
By the end of the game, if it's a long pitcher's duel, both pitchers know where the mound divots are. And don't mess it up for them. That makes 100% because legitimately they could sprain their ankles landing on it incorrectly.
Right.
And that makes sense. But really, all these other ones are just stupid, and they're really... You get the sense they were written... because a team was getting beaten. You know who wrote this? I know exactly who wrote this. Wrote these unwritten rules. It was the teams like the Dodgers and the Yankees of yore that were supposedly the best teams ever, and they didn't like little teams. They should be beaten, smacking them around a bit. Like, no, you can't do that. You can't swing a 0-3 count. Don't you know we're the Yankees? And all the little drone, mindless sports writers of New York, like, yeah, it's true. Let's do it. It's ridiculous. This is all sports writers sucking up to their big teams nonsense.
I definitely feel like Connie Mack, who is like one of the most distinguished older managers in baseball history, definitely seemed like the kind of guy that would just get upset by stuff like this. And he's from a storied franchise, of course, and he's just... I could totally see that there's this... that the management has such a pulse on how people disseminate the information that they're telling the media, oh, I don't like that. Whereas if you look through baseball history, these are always disrespected. This isn't like... There wasn't like if you will find every year one of these unwritten rules broken.
Yeah.
It's not like these are like rare. These happen. These happen all the time. Maybe not all the time, but enough to be like, this isn't. So there's just this weird, and I've joked about this, obviously, this episode. There's this weird sense that like older baseball was better and purer, and it just isn't true. Like old Has Rasborn was a kind of a mean old man, you know. The Black Sox scandal is a real thing. This is not
exactly. And if you don't know what the Black Sox scandals is, do some history research.
It's marred by lots of controversy. So,
yeah.
So I don't. Whenever I see people online being like, "Oh, baseball just gone down the wrong way," like, buddy, it's gone down the wrong way many times before.
This isn't the first, and the key phrase that we have said multiple times and have not truly picked up on yet is they are called unwritten rules.
Yes.
Meaning they could make them a rule, but everyone said, no, that's stupid. If the catcher is tipping his signs so badly, a hitter can see him do it, that's not on the hitter's fault.
No.
If they wanted to make it a rule, they'd put those little like horse blinders on the batters, that they can't look down. All right, and that would be impeding them. Basically, most of these rules are because it's proven fact that the biggest whiners on the diamond are pitchers and managers.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, Trevor Plouffe on Talking Baseball said, it's weird that we can't sneak a peek at the batter's box, but it's acceptable if someone on second does it.
Oh yeah.
Like it's assumed that the person on second does it. And that actually gets people mad. Pitchers get mad about that too. Pitchers get mad when people on second are trying to steal signs.
That's why they change the sequence up. Right. They have multiple signs, they change the sequence up. Everyone knows about this. And I remember back in I think it was the Braves that did it, and there was the hitter on the there was some catcher that was really bad at he would set up really, really early, inside or outside, and you would see if there's a Brave on second or even their third base coach like rubbing his left leg. He's on that side, he's on this side. Like, oh, okay, so you know the pitcher's coming.
Right.
Will Smith catch better. All right.
He just has to set up later.
Exactly.
I mean, you look at. I mean, Yadier Molina, love him or hate him, but literally does this thing where he will fake set up. He will jump. He'll jump from one side and he'll like brush the dirt sometimes to assume that you think, oh, I hear a dirt sound closer, and then he sets up outside. That's how you play a sport. You trick each other.
Exactly.
You trick each other.
You're all athletes in the peak of your profession. You could all. It's mind blowing that it's like, oh, don't focus on Tatis.
Yeah.
This,
And he doesn't
L.A. writers.
We don't even know if he did it.
Exactly. You don't even know if he did or not. I personally don't think he did. Also, if he did do it, I don't care because it's not on him. This is a game of inches and reviews. And frankly, if Will Smith cannot do his job correctly, that's not on the Padres.
Yep.
That's on the Dodgers, who are all about training their guys to be better hitters. Train your catcher to be a better catcher.
Right. I'd be remiss to say, of course, there's tons of video, not tons of video, a couple of clips now, Dodgers doing the same thing Tatis did, because that's how you play baseball sometimes. And this is the biggest non-story story that's happened in a little bit, which baseball loves making non-story stories in the media.
Well, again, it's because L.A. is full of whiners, and they don't like losing. They're all a bunch of whiner babies. That's why LA sucks. And it's called, it's not because our Dodgers lost and got their butts handed to them 3 days. It's because Tatis cheated. And yes, the Astros cheated against you. Boo-hoo, they got punished. And I hate the Astros for what they did. But it's two completely different things, all right?
Yeah, you can't compare the two.
LA, just do better. We know you can't, but try.
Feel like you're holding back. Just kidding.
Oh, I could go on, but we promised ourselves to make this a PG podcast. And frankly, we should do Brothers Potter After Dark.
I have met a decent number of decent Dodgers fans, but they unfortunately do not write for the LA Times. So, moving on, James.
And you can't just say, just because they're decent Dodger fans, what does that mean? They haven't kicked a baby in the last 6 months?
So rude.
What does that mean?
So rude.
They haven't run over a homeless person this year? No, this isn't a decent LA Dodger fan. It's like saying, no,
okay.
it's not. There's no such thing as a decent Dodger fan.
Can't even. Okay, we're moving on.
There was more controversy in baseball this week, and we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it.
Yeah, our favorite rodeo writer. That's what they call. What do you call people that ride rodeo? I don't know what they call it. No, he's not a rodeo rider. He wrangles bulls. Mason Saunders, who also on the side pitches for the Arizona Diamondbacks under the name Madison Bumgarner. Are you not familiar with this? You're giving me the weirdest look.
Like, no, what are you
Yeah, so
Madison Bumgarner rides in the rodeo?
yeah, he does the rodeo stuff under a pseudonym Mason Saunders. Not a joke, and he's like won competitions.
Oh,
Yeah, so I was it was one of the things that like in part of his contract he has to be allowed to like be with horses and do rodeo stuff. But he has bull wrangling, rodeo bull. I don't know the difference. I don't obviously.
I don't follow the sport.
But yeah, under pseudonym he competes. Under his name is Mason Saunders, and he actually is fairly good at it. He also pitches.
He also can throw a ball. Huh.
So, Madison Bumgarner.
The more you know, ladies and gentlemen. You turn to this podcast for great facts.
Madison Bumgarner, of course, famous for his 3 World Series under the San Francisco Giants, has kind of declined since 2014. Had a rough couple years with the Diamondbacks.
Padres roughed him up a bit early in the season.
But they're playing a doubleheader, which under the new rules, James, means 2 7-inning games. And the Arizona Diamondbacks were playing the Atlanta Braves at home. And what did Madison Bumgarner do in the second game, James?
He threw a 7-inning no-hit ball game. And for some reason, people are saying it's not an official no-hitter because it wasn't 9 innings. No, he played the
Regulation?
The regulation game was 7 innings, and he pitched 7 innings of no-hit ball. That is a no-hit ball game. The fact that people are debating this, it's just baseball can't help but get in its own way. This is a no-hitter. If baseball changes the rules, and you play to that rule, and all of a sudden now it's not the rule,
it's easy to say.
That's like saying 2 + 2 = 4, except on Tuesdays.
Yeah, I will say that you can very easily make a tier system. He threw a 7-inning no-hitter.
Exactly.
He threw a 9-inning no-hitter. Or, Randy Johnson.
He threw a 7-inning
no-hitter.
Complete 7-inning game no-hitter and a double-hitter. Obviously, there has to be asterisks about it, but it's a complete game.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that blows my mind. Both games, you know how many hits the Atlanta Braves had?
So bananas. One.
They weren't exactly swinging big bats those 2 games. And they're a good hitting team.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I legitimately oh, wow. Take note, Arizona's not playing around this year. They took probably one of the better hitting teams in the East Coast.
Oh, yeah.
To 1 hit in 14 innings. That's insane. And the fact that baseball won't, that's one of the biggest problems about unwritten rules in general, is that baseball just won't get out of its own way. We talked about this last time, but the baseball's worried about their, getting more image and getting more viewers. Get out of your own way.
Well, look, the great example of this is the Dodgers Padres series went up against the Oscars and did well against it. So,
not to bash the Oscars, but have you seen any of those movies?
I actually didn't know 90% of them.
You did?
I didn't know 90%.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know this is a movie. There was a live action Pinocchio?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I didn't see a single one of those movies. And they all look sad and depressing. Like, good Lord, Oscars. Can you give us some happy things?
But they went against it because the storyline and the game and the athleticism
were better than any of the movies in the Oscars.
And despite A-Rod saying whatever he said on Sunday night.
All right, okay, all right. Okay.
Hey, we got to finish it, Matt.
All right, sidebar. There has to be a Constitution amendment to never let A-Rod speak ever again. He should not be allowed. This guy is an alien. He says things that are blatantly untrue, that are just blatantly bizarre. He kept on bringing up Tony Gwynn, which is my personal favorite hit player of all time. But he kept on saying, like Tony Gwynn, he hits the 5.6 hole. It's the 5.5 hole! That's just the tip of the iceberg of irritant he was. Matt Fatskursion, I like him because he used to be a Padre broadcaster.
Yeah.
At least he isn't totally biased. That's one thing I like about him. He isn't 100% sucking up to Dodgers. But is A-Rod human?
A-Rod is what happens when you spend years having way too much money and having way too much money in eight seasons where you find yourself. Like, he's never not had hundreds of millions of dollars. He was the center of sports attention, was awarded 2 of the largest sports contracts in North America. He hasn't been a real person and interacted with real people probably for 30 years, right? And so what happens is when you don't interact with real people and you try to say, how do you do, fellow kids? It's just everything. And in his point, he's trying to interact like a human. And everything just misses. All of his references, his stories don't make sense.
Honestly, I think the last time he was a human being is when we met him. Do you remember when we met him?
I don't remember this at all.
So
I would have met. We probably did meet him because Padres, they still share spring training complex with Mariners.
We got him to sign a magazine. Funny side story. This was 1997, I want to say. It was the year after. It was not his rookie year, but his year after his rookie year. We went to spring training with our sister, and we were eating at Applebee's. And the booth next to us, A-Rod was sitting there. and we happened to, and one of our cousins wanted us to get an A-Rod signature if we could. And we just said, A-Rod, could you sign this at Applebee's? He was like, oh, sure. It's for our cousins. They love cousins. It's not for you. No, we're Padres fans. Respect. Super nice guy. And I think that was the last human interaction he had, was with us. And after that, he just went nuts. What did J-Lo do to his mind? I just don't understand.
It's not J-Lo's fault. J-Lo's innocent. I want to die on this hill. J-Lo actually sounds like a human being, and when she talks to people, like, "Oh, you're human."
That's true.
A-Rod, I think A-Rod had a Faustian moment where he met the devil at the crossroads and was like, "Hey, I want to be great at baseball," and the devil is like, "Yeah, but in order to do that, you're a weirdo."
Yeah, I'm gonna take away your personality. Boom.
So, do you want $800 million and no personality? A-Rod's like, yup. And then the devil's like, here you go. The devil was, of course, a pharmaceutical company that gave him the
steroids. Yeah,
so,
it's true. Was the steroids that interfere with his brain?
No, I mean, let's keep in mind that he did a photo shoot once where he was kissing himself in a mirror, and he approved it.
He's an odd dude.
He just kept saying things.
36 states, ladies and gentlemen. That's all we need is to make a constitution amendment, and I could just say Alex Rodriguez no longer allowed on television.
So he's the weirdest person. He's so weird. Anyways, going back to Madison Bumgarner, he thanked in his post-game presser.
Which is the best troll.
He said, thanks to the Shadows in Atlanta and Rob Manfred for inventing 7-inning games.
Because they previously asked him, what do you say when they're saying it's not a real no-hitter? And he thanked Rob Manfred as a sarcastic quip. And Rob Manfred, who's another weirdo, was like, it's good to be thanked by a player every now and then. No, he was trolling you moron. It was a fun week in sports, Joe.
Yeah. It was pretty fun. It was. I was like, oh, this is why people are sports fans.
Yes, exactly. This
is fun.
This is why I'm currently wearing a Padre hat and you are currently wearing a Padre shirt.
Padre Hawaiian shirt.
It's a Padre Hawaiian shirt. That is correct.
Yeah. James, that will be it for today. Remember to like us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter at Brothers Padres, subscribe, hit the bell button. YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Overcast. We're on all of them, James.
And don't forget to tune in on Thursday where we'll do a more in-depth analysis of all the games. We will bring up Tatis' partying more. We'll bring up just our son Weathers did fantastic.
Incredible.
We're going to talk all about that, and it's going to be great. And we're going to probably beat the Diamondbacks next 2 games, and we'll bring those up too.
Yep. Till next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.
And there it is! Oh, doctor! You can hang a star on that, baby!